Welcome to GESARA for Dummies. It is May 15, 2025. Let's look at today's news from Professor William Liebenberg, prepared by Martin Stein. Please like, share and subscribe. Join our Telegram group in the comments below. Thank you. Let's go. The GESARA Law. Elon Musk, talking about the GESARA Golden Ages, Universal Basic Income. Let's watch.
Potentially, we could have an economy 10 times the size of the current global economy, where no one wants for anything. Sometimes in AI they talk about universal basic income. I think it's actually going to be universal high income, where anyone can have any goods or services that they want. A science fiction book recommendation that I have, which I think is probably the best envisioning of an AI future, is the culture books by Ian Banks. Very highly recommended for a non-dystopian view of the future. Now, there obviously are some risks, which illustrate perhaps if we don't do this right, you can have like a James Cameron sort of movie, Terminator. We don't want that one. But having sort of a Star Trek future would be great, where we're out there exploring the stars, discovering the nature of the universe, and a level of prosperity and hopefully happiness that we can't quite imagine yet. So I'm very excited about the future and very glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Breaking: Israeli spyware company known for Pegasus surveillance software, ordered to pay $170 million to WhatsApp for hacking accounts. This essentially means that Pegasus software has been used to spy on every WhatsApp user. Do you now understand why I do not use WhatsApp unless I am forced to? Not safe at all. The U.S. intelligence is behind the Afrikaner refugee situation in South Africa. Listen to Eric Prince, discussing the South African farm murders and the corruption that plagues ANC leaders. Short 2-minute factual and educational video exposing the ANC. Let's watch.
The amount of farm murders happening in South Africa is horrific. And it's not just rob, it's true terrorism, because they'll take a baby and they'll put it in a microwave. They will, I mean, it's awful. So Trump is right to offer them refugee status because there is absolute discrimination. And again, it is a communist, the ANC government has direct communist origins. All the leaders of the ANC, where do they study? Patrice Lumumba University in Moscow. And the entire sub-Saharan anti-colonial movement was largely funded, organized, trained, enabled by the Soviet Union. And there is a huge amount of economic damage. Some of the countries are starting to come out of it. A lot of them are not. And then there's, you have competition for minerals now. The Chinese have really pushed into a lot of those areas because they really don't care about the rule of law. They will do black bag diplomacy, so they'll pay off. I mean, if you're a energy minister, foreign minister, or head of state from a target country that China wants to do business with, they bring you to China and they take you to the foreign ministry. In the basement of the foreign ministry, there's a vault you walk through with all kinds of safe deposit boxes, and they take you to one with your name on it, and it's filled with gold dory bars, cash, diamonds, and they say, this one's for you. Here's the key for it, as long as you play ball for us while you're in office. And so they do everything like that to undermine the rule of law. But there's actually been quite a bit of backlash, particularly in Africa, against that kind of Chinese investment, because the politicians get rich and the people get screwed. Because when the Chinese build a mine, they take everything with them from China. They hire as few locals as possible. They treat them horribly, and they don't buy anything from them. And so there is a great opportunity for Western capital that is responsible, because there's actually quite a bit more accountability and responsibility in our court system, in our public markets, that that incentivize Western capital to behave well when they go abroad to do that. So that's really, I think it comes down to that global competition of governance philosophies. Is it responsible capitalism that is underpinned by the rule of law and some kind of human rights versus a very centralized communist statist relationship where the people are effectively serfs ruled by a maximum.
Eric Dean Prince is an American billionaire businessman, investor, author, and former U.S. Navy SEAL officer, and the founder of the private military company Blackwater, and a huge Trump supporter. Afrikaner, Boer murders, and ANC human rights abuses hit the U.S. mainstream media. Shocking video, link to video in comments. Is Donald Trump right about South Africa? Yes, 100%, and the ANC cadres are in for a huge surprise. Ramaphosa makes a surprise visit to a farmers' expo, calling Afrikaners refugees cowards. This goes outright what President Trump is offering, due to the brutal murders of the farmers. Colonel Chris Wyatt tears into Ramaphosa for calling the Afrikaner refugees cowards. Video link in comments. U.S. Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, addresses the media and bellows out the Afrikaner are under race-based persecution, land expropriation and more, in this 1-minute video. Let's watch.
What's happening in South Africa fits the textbook definition of why the refugee program was created. This is persecution based on a protected characteristic, in this case, race. So this is race-based persecution. The refugee program is not intended as a solution for global poverty. The U.S. refugee program in America has been a catastrophic failure. This is an example of the president returning the refugee program to what it was intended to be used as. It's state policy. There's land expropriation. There's a whole series of government laws and policies that specifically target white farmers and the white population in South Africa. That's well documented on video. And of course, you even see government leaders chanting racial epithets and espousing racial violence. It's all very well documented. The first flight is scheduled, I believe, for early next week. But that's just the beginning of what's going to be a much larger scale relocation. Really exciting news story, isn't it?
This group in South Africa has faced racial persecution. In fact, the government there has vowed to take away their farmland that they own.
Really exciting news story, isn't it?
A Zelensky version 2 Wrecking Ball interview is coming. This time it is not Zelensky next to Trump, but Ramaphosa of South Africa. President Donald Trump says President Cyril Ramaphosa will be coming to see him next week. This crucial face-to-face meeting is likely to be tense, and the outcome critical for the future of South Africa-U.S. relations, which have hit rock bottom. Trump announced Ramaphosa's visit during a press conference in Washington, which covered a wide range of subjects, including what he called the genocide he claimed was being conducted against white Afrikaners. This was why the U.S. had offered them citizenship, he said. 49 Afrikaner refugees arrived in Washington, on Monday afternoon, to make the U.S. their new home. Now the South African leadership is coming to see me. I understand sometime next week, Trump said. The meeting between the two presidents is likely to be fraught as relations have been rocked by a series of hostile executive orders and statements from Trump and his government, terminating U.S. aid, imposing huge import tariffs, expelling South Africa ambassador to the U.S. Ibrahim Rasool, and otherwise throwing economic and political relations into turmoil. Trump has attacked South Africa for a range of foreign policy decisions, mainly for taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, for alleged genocide in Gaza, but also for genocide against white Afrikaners. At the press conference on Monday, Trump was asked why he was creating an expedited path into the U.S. for Afrikaners, while he had halted virtually all refugee admissions for people suffering famine and war, like those from Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people being killed, he replied. It's a genocide taking place, he added, repeating accusations by his officials. Farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black, makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And so we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence, and come here. Cyril Ramaphosa will embark on a working visit to the United States of America, from 19 to May 22, 2025. It could be 3 days of hell for him. We sincerely ask President Trump to have the entire interview live on TV for the world to see what is really going on. The people of the world needs full exposure. BRICS GESARA Nations Alliance. China and Colombia sign cooperation deal on Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative. China is Colombia's second largest trade partner after the U.S. Will this knock the U.S. off the podium? BRICS candidate Vietnam, shaping Vietnam's banking future, digitalization and upskilling. The banking sector is undergoing a significant transformation, with digitalization playing a central role in reshaping operations, services and workforce dynamics. As the banking sector embraces digital transformation, the need to upskill and retrain employees has become more important than ever. Brazil's central bank, to sign currency swap deal with the People's Bank of China. Iran moves toward currency redomination. Iran's national currency, the rial, will undergo redenomination during the current Iranian year, from March 21, 2025, through March 20, 2026, said Mohammad Reza Farzan, the governor of Iran's central bank, Trend reports. There is no proper or accurate perception of the Iranian rial in the global economy. For this reason, the removal of zeros from the currency remains a priority, he stated. Based on successful international experiences, implementing this policy could significantly enhance the image of Iran's currency, he said. 4 zeros will be dropped from the rial, and the currency will be renamed to Mon, super unit of the rial. BRICS, Ripple, meets with the United Arab Emirates officials to discuss digital payment infrastructure and accelerating financial innovation. The world is changing at an alarming rate. It's all turning biblical with the Abrahamic Accord taking center stage. Let's watch. The king of the coming 7 kingdoms, as Trump himself said in his pseudo account. Now watch this 1-minute video.
Breaking news, Saudi media just gave Trump a new title, the true president of the world. When Trump arrived in Riyadh, it wasn't just diplomacy. It looked like a coronation. He was greeted with golden sabers, white Arabian stallions, and a royal motorcade fit for a king. It was imperial treatment. Saudi outlets called it a tribute to power, something no U.S. president in history has ever received. But Trump didn't just bring symbolism. He brought $600 billion in investment deals. He brought the world's attention back to the Middle East on his terms. He signed a $142 billion defense agreement and launched a U.S.-Saudi AI alliance. Even more shocking, Trump lifted all sanctions on Syria during the visit. Meanwhile, Biden is still struggling with domestic chaos, inflation, and collapsing approval ratings. So why is Saudi Arabia backing Trump and ignoring Biden? One Saudi anchor went viral for saying Trump no longer represents a party. He represents power. And when your allies start calling someone else the real global president, that you have to ask, who really lost power?
Saudi News gave President Trump a new title, the true president of the world. I told you this clearly in this article. but few grasped it. This is bigger than you could imagine. This was the president's departure from Saudi Arabia. The Crown Prince personally escorted him back to the airport. Pay close attention to the Crown Prince. He's choked up with emotion, no doubt. Let's swatch. One can only imagine how it feels for all of them, the alliance, knowing they are finally here. Payment systems. Coinbase Chief Executive Officer, Brian Armstrong, calls on Congress to pass crypto stablecoin legislation. The pressure is on. Let's swatch.
Hey y'all, I'm here in DC today trying to help get legislation passed for crypto. There's a big vote for the stablecoin bill coming up hopefully tomorrow. That's going to be a big important one. And then we're going to move on to market structure legislation, which is even more important. We've been meeting with members of the Senate on both sides of the House, and there's a lot of good excitement about getting this done. Like any good negotiation, there's a lot of details to work out at the last minute. But we've been stressing the urgency of this. There's 52 million Americans who want to see this legislation get passed. And we need to make sure the industry stays on shore here in America. It's also Stand With Crypto Day. Stand With Crypto invited over 60 founders to come meet with their elected representatives to underscore this message as well. So fingers crossed, it's an exciting historic moment. Let's see if we can get some legislation passed.
That sums up your Thursday news. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.